This is the first video in a 4-part series I'll be making on growing 6 different kinds of pea shoots. Now I decided to break this video up into 3 different videos of comparing 2 different kinds of pea shoots in each video, and then I'll do a final video where I just discuss comparing all of them. I didn't need to grow 6 different kinds of pea shoots all at once, so I figured I'd split it up for you. This box right here contains 30 pounds of pea seeds, and so there's 6 different kinds. It's from True Leaf Market, my favorite source for seeds. Link in the description if you want to check that out. Use my affiliate link. I earn a small commission. Let's open this up, get started. First up, we've got yellow organic seed. This seed should have a lot of tendrils in it. Green pea organic. This used to have a lot of tendrils. I've been hearing lately that it no longer has tendrils, and I believe even on their website that it says that sometimes they will, sometimes they don't. If you're really looking for a lot of tendrils, go with the yellow pea. So these are 2 I'm actually going to grow at the same time. That'll be a good comparison video. I don't think I'm going to do it in this video. Maybe next one. Here we've got speckled pea. That's one of my favorites. I grow that one frequently. Thomas Laxton. This was a pea that I started growing when I first started growing microgreens like 3 years ago. This was the one I was started with, and it actually taught me a lot. So I found that if you soak this seed for the amount of time people normally do, which is like overnight, like 12 hours or so, they'll get mushy, and when they get mushy, they can rot. And I used to have all kinds of problems, so I stopped soaking my seeds. Later on, I decided to try soaking again, and I was using the speckled pea. And the speckled pea are really hardy. They can handle being soaked for a long period of time and not get all mushy. And I discovered, though, that like 3 to 4 hours of soaking time is perfect, and that actually works well with the Thomas Laxton. You can soak these seeds and get good results, but you don't want to soak them for too long. So that's kind of the trick there. Maybe a little bit too much information, but probably could have covered that more when I actually grow them. This is Little Marvel. I've never grown that one before. And this one's Early Frosty, another one I've never grown before. So that's what we have for seed. Now let's decide which ones we want to do in this video. Let's go with the Early Frosty, and we'll compare that up against the Little Marvel. 2 I haven't done yet before. I'm a little excited to try something new. If you're interested in watching me grow the rest of these and compare them, make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications for every time I make videos, and you will be able to see the rest of the series.
Daddy!
What, Parker?
Are you almost done watching?
No, right now I'm making a video though. So I've got a couple containers here, and I've already labeled them so I won't lose track of which one's which. I've already opened the bag, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant 400 grams of each of these, so I'm going to soak 400 grams of these. What I've been doing is my 16 fluid ounce clamshells that hold 2 ounces of microgreens perfectly. These actually are about the right measurement for measuring my pea seeds as well, and typically I'll just fill one of these containers and that's enough for a tray. For the sake of the video, let's weigh it and see if that theory is still right. I could be wrong, but that's what I've been planting. Let's zero this out. Now I can see that the Little Frosty here, the seed type looks a lot like the Thomas Laxton, which tells me that they're going to swell up a lot and absorb a lot of water and probably could get mushy. So a short soak on these would probably be important, but we'll find that out. That's about a full container. See the seed there? Get a better idea of what I'm talking about, how it's really shriveled up. These are gonna swell right up. All right, that's 358 grams, so we'll do a little bit more. Our pea seeds are soaking, and I'll leave those for about 4 hours, so right around 5 o'clock tonight, I will plant these and we'll get going on growing. All right, these have been soaking for about 5 hours now. I got kind of busy, didn't have time to get back to it, but that's totally fine. 5 hours is fine. They really, really swelled up. These were about half full before I started with the pea seed on the bottom, and they've consumed almost all the water. So I'm going to drain these out, and we'll get started on planting them. All right, drained out most of the water, and we're ready to plant. One thing about when you're soaking is that if you want to sterilize your seeds, if you're concerned about any mold problems or anything else, that's the perfect time to add some hydrogen peroxide to the water that you're soaking in, and that will sanitize them for you and sterilize them. I didn't do that. Sometimes I do, but in this case, I did not do that. I'm going to add 2 scoops of soil with my trusty cereal bowl. So 2 scoops to each tray. This is ProMix. I think it's ProMix MP. It's ProMix HP. It's a soil I really like to use. You don't need to use that. You can use any soil you'd like. Pea shoots are not particularly picky when it comes to soil. Now we'll just dump in our seed. This is the Early Frosty. I will transfer that label over onto the tray so I don't lose track of it. Just kind of spread them around a little bit, try to keep it as even as I can get it. All right, now let's dump in our little marble. I like to cover my pea seeds with another scoop of soil. I feel like I get better germination this way, and there's less mold issues if you're going to have any. At least it's under the soil if it does happen. Now I'm just going to go water both these trays in pretty heavy. I'm going to use my utility sink that has a sprayer on it. Basically the same thing as a hose if you want to use a garden hose. Growing indoors in this small area, I just use my sink. It works out great. It's going to wash a lot of the soil that I put on the top down into the seeds, and that's totally fine. I like to give them a really good soaking when I plant them for germination. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and plant some other trays I'll stack on top of these. I didn't want to just stack these on top of each other because I didn't want more weight on one than the other and mess up the results at all. So I'm going to plant probably a tray of amaranth on one and maybe a tray of basil on the other. And then those will just get blackout domes on top of them. That's what I use for weight. A lot of people use like a cement brick or something. They'll take an empty tray and put like a cement brick in there to weigh it down. I don't do that. I just use a tray that I don't stack. So basil, amaranth, a couple other things that I don't stack. Those are my weights. So we'll get that planted. We'll get these on the rack, and we will update when we're ready to unstack them. Top of them was actually some bull's blood beets and some red garnet basil. I think it's red garnet. I can't remember for sure, but it's a red basil. So I got to take these off and see that the peas are ready. So let me just get those off real quick. Here they are uncovered. Don't really expect to see much difference at the moment. And we will check back in a couple days and see how they're doing. It's been 9 days since I soaked the seed and planted. And there's Little Marvel. Doing all right. Little uneven. The back side of the tray isn't as good. And then Early Frosty. Tray is a little bit more even than the Little Marvel. I wouldn't put too much into that. I'm not sure why it's uneven at that end. But yeah, so far they look about the same. I wouldn't say that they're much different. At this stage, they are just starting to expose some of the leaves, starting to expand on them. And probably 2 more days and I'll be able to harvest. We'll be able to wrap this video up. And now we're coming towards the end of the video. This is what we got for Early Frosty. This is what we got for Little Marvel. Now both of these had a little uneven growth. There's a section right here where they didn't really pop with the leaves the way I would have liked. And also down here on the Little Marvel. This one, Little Marvel, was a little bit worse for the uneven growth. I wouldn't attribute that to either of these seed types necessarily, because they both did experience it. It could be that I've had some major temperature swings in this room, and that maybe they're not happy about going from 85 degrees to 55 degrees to 85, but I would think they would actually enjoy that, because that's kind of what happens in the summertime in New England. But let's get these harvested up. We'll see what we got. We'll do a taste test, and we'll do our final comparison. Okay, we are all harvested. Both of these produced about half of what I'm used to getting out of pea shoots. They're very, very short. And True Leaf Market does even say that on the website for these seeds, that they're a tiny shoot. Like this one says little. That explains it. So I got 12 ounces of the Early Frosty, and I got just 10 ounces of the Little Marvel, not including the little extra piles I have here, which do not add up to a whole lot. It was a 12-day grow time from the time I started soaking until harvesting. So let's see if I can tell a difference when I taste them. Grab a little bit here. A little Early Frosty. I would say that has a nice pea flavor. Maybe not quite as sweet as I'm used to, but definitely no complaints with the flavor at all. Very tender. There's not a lot of like fiber or anything in there. Now let's try some Little Marvel. Now the Little Marvel is a little bit more, I'd say, not quite bitter, but it's got like a bitterness to it. It's not as sweet as the Early Frosty. There are a little bit of differences in how they look. The Little Marvel does get a little bit taller and does start to produce some tendrils, where the Early Frosty is very, very few tendrils, and they stayed like really short. But again, on the taste test, just trying both these again. Now again, on that taste test, I wouldn't say that there was a drastic difference, but I definitely did prefer the Early Frosty. And that one also produced 2 more ounces than the Little Marvel. So in this episode, we're going to go with the Early Frosty as being the winner of these two. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. And definitely check for the next video on the next comparison of pea shoots. We'll be doing this for 2 more videos and then a final video where I will do a comparison of all of them. Thanks for watching.